Think for a moment about those unseen guardians of our health. The constant efforts and the crucial innovations keeping us safe, especially in hospitals and clinics.
Absolutely. From just a routine checkup to, well, really complex surgery.
Exactly. There's this constant battle going on against illness, against infection. We all rely on it. And I think recent global events really drove home how vital infection control is.
Couldn't agree more.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into that world, the absolutely critical yet maybe often overlooked infection control devices market.
Hmm.
Our source for this is pretty comprehensive. It's the Global Infection Control Devices Market Report 2025-2033.
A weighty report.
It is. Okay,
Okay.
let's unpack this. Our mission today is really to give you a shortcut, a way to grasp the key trends, the big innovations, and the strategic shifts that are shaping healthcare safety for the next decade or so.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, I think, is how these market trends, they directly mirror our sort of collective commitment globally to preventing illness, protecting vulnerable people.
That's a great way to put it.
These devices, they're really the foundational backbone of healthcare. They impact patient safety, operational efficiency, everything. So we're not just looking at numbers, dollars, and cents.
Right, right.
We're exploring how sophisticated we're getting at keeping people healthy worldwide.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture then.
Yeah.
The sheer scale. Globally, this market was valued at just under 29 billion US dollars back in 2021.
Almost 29 billion. Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting. It's projected to grow significantly, hitting nearly 35 billion by 2025.
Wow, quite a jump.
And then it's expected to soar past 50 billion US dollars by 2033. That gives us a really consistent compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of about 4.81% over that whole period.
4.81% steady.
Think about what that means, though. Billions more each year going into things like, I don't know, advanced cleaning robots in hospitals or maybe new types of air purifiers on public transport. It's fundamentally changing our approach to public health safety.
And that sustained global CAGR, it's more than just sales figures going up.
Right. What's the bigger story?
Well, the broader implication is this fundamental worldwide investment in health security, in resilience. It's not just buying more of the same stuff.
Okay.
It suggests a strategic pivot. We're talking more advanced sterilization techniques, maybe a surge in smart PPE, AI-driven diagnostics, automated disinfection.
So much more tech-driven.
Exactly. A shift from being reactive to being proactive using data. And that really redefines how hospitals operate and, what kind of devices they're actually buying.
Okay, fascinating. So that's the global view. Now let's zoom in a bit. Which regions are really dominating the market right now in terms of sheer size, sheer value? Leading the pack, maybe not surprisingly, is Asia Pacific. Huge market. Over $10 billion back in 2021.
10 billion. Yeah.
And it's expected to hit a massive $17.2 billion by 2033. That's growing at a pretty solid 4.588% CAGR.
Still very strong growth for such a large base.
Absolutely. And within Asia Pacific, you've got China, a real powerhouse.
Yeah.
Projected to nearly double its market to almost $6 billion. Just massive sustained investment there.
Incredible numbers.
And then you see countries like India, starting smaller, maybe, but growing even faster. Its CAGR is over 5%. That suggests, explosive demand for new solutions as its healthcare system expands so rapidly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Different dynamics within the region.
Then right on its heels, you have North America, holding nearly $6 billion in 2021, projected to reach almost $10 billion by 2033. The CAGR there is respectable too, 4.512%.
Still growing steadily.
Very much so. The U.S., as you'd guess, is the dominant force. But what I found interesting is how countries like Canada and Mexico are showing accelerated growth within this mature market.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, Canada's expanding from just under 600 million to over $1 billion. That's a strong 5.476% CAGR.
That is strong for Canada.
And Mexico,
Yeah.
even faster, from about 517 million to over $1 billion at a remarkable 5.636% CAGR.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, Asia-Pacific leads in total value, but North America still sees really significant, maybe more targeted investment.
That's a sharp observation. And when we look at why these regions, Asia Pacific and North America, are so dominant, it's less about market saturation, maybe.
Right.
It's more about the nature of the investment. In these big, mature markets, growth is often pushed by things like regulatory updates, needing to replace older, advanced equipment, continuous small improvement.
Makes sense. Keep it up to standard.
Exactly. You've got large populations, developed healthcare infrastructure, lots of government spending. So the innovation there tends to be about refining what exists, scaling up sophisticated solutions, making sure they meet ever higher standards.
Okay, so North America and Asia Pacific are the established giants, driven by scale, by
Right.
existing systems. But if we want to understand the future, the real trajectory,
Yeah.
we need to look beyond just the biggest markets to where the fastest changes are happening. If those are the anchors, maybe these next ones are the sprinters.
The sprinters are like that. Where are they?
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Africa. It's showing the strongest growth worldwide.
Africa. Wow.
Yeah, the market was valued at what, 1.387 billion in 2021, expected to jump dramatically to over 4.2 billion by 2033.
A huge leap.
Get this, CAGR, 8.666%.
8.6%. That's incredible.
And within Africa, South Africa is leading the charge, growing from 623 million to over 2 billion. That's a 9.258% CAGR. Just phenomenal.
Almost 10% growth per year.
And Nigeria is right there too, expanding from 542 million to nearly 1.6 billion at an 8.5% CAGR.
So really significant growth across key African nations.
Definitely. And then the Middle East is another high-growth hotspot.
Okay.
From nearly 2 billion in 2021, it's projected to hit over 3.6 billion by 2033. That's a healthy 5.348% CAGR overall.
Also very strong.
The UAE shows real momentum, growing from 368 million to over 720 million. That's a 5.7% CAGR. Saudi Arabia also has substantial growth, heading towards 1.3 billion. And what's really noteworthy, the report highlights the rest of Middle East segment. That part actually has the highest regional CAGR at 6.274%.
Interesting. So growth is quite widespread there, too.
Yeah. Imagine that kind of exponential growth, though. It's not just numbers. It must reflect, rapidly evolving healthcare systems, urgent needs on the ground.
It really does. And what stands out in Africa and the Middle East is the sheer velocity, the speed of this growth.
Yeah.
This isn't just about adopting basic hand-washing campaigns, right? The report suggests these regions are often leapfrogging older tech.
Leapfrogging? How so?
Well, instead of building out, say, large traditional sterilization departments like older systems did, they might be investing directly in cutting-edge things like UVC disinfection robots or rapid diagnostic kits tailored to local health issues.
Okay. Skipping a generation of technology almost.
Kind of, yeah. It shows significant investment and urgent demand. But, while the growth is exciting, this speed also brings challenges. Well, ensuring equitable access, getting these advanced technologies outside of just the big cities, logistics for remote areas, and critically, training people properly to use these sophisticated devices effectively, sustainably.
Right. It's not just about dropping off the equipment.
Exactly. It's about making sure it actually works and lasts and makes a difference long term.
Good point. Okay, so we have the giants and we have the sprinters. What about other major regions? Are they just holding steady?
Well, steady but still significant.
Right. Let's talk about Europe. A huge market, obviously. It reached $7.4 billion in 2021, projected to climb over $12 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of about 4.286%.
Still solid growth, over 4%.
And think about the scale.
Yeah.
Countries like Germany and the UK. Germany's moving from over 1.7 billion towards 3 billion. The UK also shows strong growth, nearly 1.3 billion, up to over 2.3 billion. Its CAGR is actually quite high for Europe, 5.166%.
Oh, that's interesting. Why the UK specifically, do you think?
The report suggests maybe targeted investment, perhaps post-Brexit policy shifts or specific NHS initiatives. It stands out.
Okay.
But then you do see slower growth in some other parts of Europe, like the rest of Europe category is only about 2.3% CAGR, or Russia at 3.3%. So it's varied.
Reflecting different national priorities, probably.
Probably. Then there's South America, another region with a, let's say, strong, steady current. About 2.2 billion in 2021, growing to over 3.6 billion by 2033. The CGR there is 4.154%.
Similar pace to Europe overall.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Brazil leads the continent, going from just under $1 billion towards $1.6 billion.
Okay.
Argentina contributes significantly to $306 million, up to over $500 million.
Okay.
And it's important to remember, right, that even this steady growth in established markets still means billions of dollars. Still a huge impact on patient safety, public health, often driven by continuous upgrades, stricter rules.
Exactly. That growth in Europe and South America, while maybe not as explosive as Africa, it represents consistent, robust demand. It reflects ongoing efforts to maintain and improve health standards in, mature healthcare systems. It's less about building from scratch, more about sophisticated upkeep and strategic upgrades.
Yeah.
Things like strict regulations, national health policies focusing on prevention, constantly upgrading facilities, it all fuels this reliable expansion.
Makes sense.
And like you said, the UK's 5% CAGR within Europe, that really highlights how even within a mature region, you can see pockets of accelerated investment, maybe in specific tech like advanced decontamination or air filtering.
That's a great point about targeted investment in specific tech. So let's pivot slightly. We've talked a lot about the where the regions. What about the what? What are the actual game-changing trends or innovations driving this market? Are we still just talking hand sanitizer and masks?
Well, those are still absolutely crucial, the basics. But no, the report definitely highlights some major shifts towards really next-gen solutions.
Okay, like what?
One massive trend is integrating IoT, Internet of Things, and AI into infection control.
Ah, the smart tech wave.
Totally.
Yeah.
Think smart sensors monitoring air quality or surface contamination in real time, feeding data into systems that can actually predict potential outbreaks.
Wow, predicting.
Or autonomous robots, equipped with UVC lights, rolling through hospital corridors, disinfecting much more thoroughly, more consistently than people perhaps can.
Right. Takes out the human error element sometimes.
It can. So it's becoming less about just chemicals and wipes and more about data-driven preventative strategies. It changes the whole hygiene protocol.
That sounds like a massive leap. So the market isn't just getting bigger, it's getting smarter.
Precisely.
And what about the big players, the
Yeah.
established companies? Are they adapting to this, or are new innovators shaking things up with these smart solutions?
It's a really interesting mix, actually. You've got the established giants like 3M or STERIS definitely investing heavily in R&D for the smart stuff. They often acquire innovative startups to bring in new tech.
Makes sense. By the innovation.
But the really sort of surprising growth stories, they often come from these more agile startups, specialists in things like advanced UVC or novel antimicrobial coatings, maybe smart PPE with embedded sensors.
The niche players finding their moment.
Exactly. And they're finding rapid uptake, especially in those high-growth regions we talked about, like Africa, parts of the Middle East. There's less legacy infrastructure, maybe, so they can adopt cutting-edge tech faster.
Less baggage.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And another thing emerging is sustainability. Big focus now on reusable, sterilizable instruments, eco-friendly disinfectants, driven by environmental concerns, but also just cost efficiency.
Right, that makes a lot of sense too. Okay, so let's try and distill all this. We've painted this incredible picture. Consistent global growth overall.
Yeah.
But with really distinct, fascinating regional patterns. Asia Pacific and North America dominate market value. They hold the biggest slices of the pie, the giants. Meanwhile, Africa and the Middle East are leading the charge in growth rate. The CAGR, they're the sprinters, showing the fastest expansion.
The accelerators.
The accelerators, good word. And underneath all these numbers, there's this revolution happening in smart, AI-driven, sustainable infection control tech that's reshaping everything.
Yeah.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? Whether you work in healthcare, or maybe you invest, or you're just curious about global health.
Well, I think this analysis really shows that dual leadership in the market. You've got the established players providing stability, scaling up proven solutions. And then you have the rapid accelerators driving future demand, pushing innovation with new tech. It's also really telling how specific local strengths pop up, like you mentioned Taiwan's high growth in Asia Pacific, or Mexico's really strong performance in North America.
Right, the nuances matter.
They really do. It tells us that innovation, investment, it's happening at all levels. It all points to a market that's not just getting bigger, but really evolving, moving towards more intelligent, more integrated, more proactive ways to keep people safe.
What an incredible deep dive. Seriously fascinating. Into a market that, it literally touches every single aspect of our health and safety. We've seen how vital these devices are globally, where the big shifts are happening.
Yeah.
And the tech innovations that are genuinely reshaping the future of healthcare. It's a field that's just constantly evolving driven by that fundamental need for safety, for well-being.
It absolutely is. And this report, it clearly shows that growing global commitment to infection control, right? You see it in the investment, you see it in the technology.
Yeah, I call it.
But it also raises a really important question, I think, for all of us.
Yeah.
As this market expands, as it gets more sophisticated, how do we ensure equitable access?
Yeah.
How do we make sure these life-saving, cutting-edge technologies actually reach everyone, especially in those regions that are growing the fastest but might have access challenges? How do we truly build a healthier, more resilient world for everyone?
That's the critical question, isn't it?
It's not just about the market dynamics, it's ultimately about the mission behind it.